Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're going to zoom in and focus in on how to deflect negative energy or toxic energy, uncomfortable energy situations where you're encountering a narcissistic individual. I'm aware that many people who are watching and who are part of this viewership, and I want to thank you very much for your viewership. And it's my goal to provide a resource and tools for understanding and knowledge with how to not only raise your awareness and your knowledge of these types of individuals, but also to provide you a resource of tools for how to manage these types of relationships successfully. And what I would like to focus in here now is how to deflect or really protect yourself, make yourself immune from the negative toxic energy that a character disordered individual can induce or project within their environment. And to deflect means something to cause direction. Deflect is to cause something to change direction by interposing something or turn aside. It means to change direction. So deflect means to bounce off. And to deflect energy from a covert or overt narcissistic individual or a psychopathic individual, you have to have your boundaries. You have to have your awareness, and it's important to learn how to deflect the energy. So it's not absorbed into you physically, it's not absorbed into you emotionally, it's not absorbed into you psychologically and spiritually, your whole being, body, mind, and spirit. And to deflect that, you do need to have some assertiveness tools. You do need to have a way, a method, a means to increase your assertiveness. And to be assertive really means to be able to hold your own, to have your opinion, to be able to really explain where you're coming from, but not in a defensive manner. And the sooner in a relationship you can learn to be assertive and you can use assertiveness tools and knowledge, the easier it is that you are going to essentially put that person in their place. You're going to make clear to them in no uncertain terms that you will not be treated or spoken to in such a manner which puts you at a position underneath, puts you at an inferior position, which puts you in a position with which you are going to be offended and essentially silenced, made to feel shamed, embarrassed, humiliated. So to deflect, you really do need to make a clear statement to this individual that you are not interested to participate in their games, their discourse, their conversation, which is set to put you into an inferior position. Because remember, this is an automatic, really, tool that a manipulative person will enter into a relationship. So it is the number one priority for a manipulative individual to be the one in the limelight. It is their number one priority to have all the attention on them. Even if the situation is one where one is discussing something other than them, i.e. it's just a get-together, it is a dinner, it is a celebration, it's a wedding shower, it's a baby shower, it's celebrating someone's birthday, it's at a work event, it's at basically a neutral group community event. There's going to be a tendency for these types of individuals to use this as an opportunity to promote themselves, their ego, their status. It's all about image management for them and how they're going to come off. And generally, they like to really promote themselves, but really at the expense of others. So if you are in a position of this and where you're having to interact, it is important to learn how to deflect or turn the course of the energy so that it's not about putting you down, but it's a way for you to ascertain that you have knowledge and you're furthermore holding your own, presenting your own position, and that it doesn't have to be all about them. You don't have to be walked over. You don't have to be waffled over. You don't have to be made a victim by these types of individuals. And so when you're basically in a situation where this individual is projecting a lot of their opinions, projecting a lot of their viewpoints, projecting really that they own the floor and that you're just there to be an audience to them. You're there just to listen to how wonderful, how great, how important they are. These individuals like to explain how important they are to others through their behaviors, through their attitude, through their speech, their body language, and it can make others feel very uncomfortable. So make sure that you learn how to deflect. Deflecting is when you turn it basically back to them and you assert your position and let them know that either you're not interested in playing those games, that is very interesting, that where they're coming from, yet this is how you have your opinion. This is how you lay your groundwork. This is what you are about. So it's important that this individual get to know you, know your opinions and your feelings without feeling combative, without it becoming an aggressive situation, without it becoming a tug of war or a hostile situation where it's us against them. So you have your right as an individual to your own feelings, needs, wishes, opinions. So just put yourself out there. Not as a combative, not as a hostile tone, but really do have a sort of physicality about yourself. Do hold yourself in esteem. Know that your opinion counts. Know that your opinion matters. Know that you don't need to annihilate where you're coming from just to be around these types of individuals. And state in the affirmative, in the positive, in the proactive, your opinion, your feeling, your stance, where you're coming from, so this individual gets to know you and it's not just all about them. Because as you declare this, you're creating your own personal space. You're creating your own position in the group. You're not just getting lost in the shuffle. You're not just getting waffled over. You're not just getting walked over. And I find that oftentimes people who have been around a lot of narcissistic individuals, they don't have a lot of experience with doing this. So it can become very new. It can become unnerving. It can become really an exercise of self-assertiveness and empowerment. And assertiveness really means that you just state yourself in the positive and your I am statements, as well as how you feel, how you see things, what your edge on the perspective is, and make sure that you keep your edge, make sure that you keep your boundary, and make sure that it's done without a sense of judgment, because that tends to create that combative atmosphere that the narcissist oftentimes will seek in order to come out superior. Because remember, they look at situations and they approach it as an opportunity for them to promote themselves, their ego, their self-importance, their grandiosity. They use this as an opportunity to further solidify this within the minds of those people who they encounter. So an example of an assertiveness statement when a narcissist is trying to own the floor, trying to talk over people, trying to basically say, I am where it's at and you are the nothing, you just must receive us and you don't have any sort of comeback to us. You can acknowledge that you've heard what they've said, so I find that very interesting. And really where I come in, or where I feel, or my experience is ... I find that very interesting. I find that very informative. I find that very enlightening. I find that very curious. I find that as very new information to me. I find this as enlightening. So it's a way to show that you have understood where they're coming from. You've heard them. And then furthermore, then you assert yourself. I find that very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. My experience has been, my feeling has been, what I have found to be very close to me, what is very close to me, to my heart, is such and such. So make sure you assert yourself in a positive yet non-judgmental manner. And do this early in the relationship, because if you find that you're overpowered by these individuals, you must hold yourself accountable so that you are not overpowered by these individuals. And you become empowered when you are assertive, when you stand up for your position, for when you stand up for your feelings and you stand up for your deserving to be respected. Really, the bottom line, I find oftentimes, is that most people aren't able to assert their need to be respected. And you absolutely, positively, unequivocally need to be respected. And a narcissist oftentimes will overpower others through covert insults and disrespect. And that does not feel very good. It keeps you feeling insulted. It keeps you feeling shocked. It keeps you feeling shamed. And those are very disempowering experiences. And as we know, the narcissist oftentimes will project their own inadequacies onto others, so that they basically push out this insecurity onto others, so that they are feeling themselves what this individual feels inside in their private self. So realize that they often dish up and shovel off onto others what they are feeling inside underneath. So realize it has an origin, realize it has a cause, and realize that that is the seat of projection, which is basically a throwing out. It's a projection. It is a projecting out onto others. I want to say a pushing out, but it's an energetic sort of assigning of blame. It's giving it to another rather than them being able to deal with it internally themselves. So it's important to deflect this. It's important not to be a victim of someone else's projection. And you do that by using the I am statements and acknowledging where they're coming from, and relaying to them, communicating to them that you understand where they're coming from. But furthermore, your experience is, my feelings are, I am, and stating this in a very open-ended question, so you're able to communicate your experience and do this and deserve respect, and not just be a victim to a narcissist, covert narcissist, or psychopathic projection from their energy, which seeks to keep you ashamed, embarrassed, and humiliated, furthermore unempowered, and as a victim to them, which is essentially their idea of supply, which keeps them feeling better than, yet you have essentially news for them. That is not a position which you agree to taking on, because someone can only make you feel inferior if you give them permission to. Do not give them permission. Be assertive, deflect the energy, put it back to where it's coming from, assert yourself, assert your standpoint in the I am, in the positive. Make sure I see this coming so that you don't allow yourself to be waffled over and made to feel uncomfortable. Assert yourself. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.